Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. You are back for our journey through comic book film, and this week marks a special one for us early 2000s babies, potentially late 90s for one of us. I am Colton Robertson, and I am joined today by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And for the second time on this journey through comic book film, the first repeating guest we've had, this is Michael Muehlberger. What's up, homie?
What's up, Colton? Doing great. Glad to be back. Like you said, second time on, and hopefully that number just keeps growing. So
it should, as I anticipate you'll stick with us through this trilogy of films at the very least. We've got Spider-Man 2002 this week, Tobey Maguire's Spidey, and this is a big one for us as the late 90s, early 2000s babies we are. I grew up on this film. This is like crack for me. This was released on May 3rd, 2002. I was 2.5 years old. It's written by David Koepp and directed by Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, since you are the guest here, I want to get your thoughts first. How you feeling about Spider-Man 2002 fresh off of it?
Love it. Love it. It's been a while since I've seen these movies. Just Marvel is just, constant every year coming out with new stuff. And even after seeing like these past 20 years of film and the advancement of technology, going back 20 years, great movie. Love it. So good. It felt like it was one of my favorite Spider-Man movies of all time. Like it's an older movie, but it hit.
This is X-Men was like, there's this thing where Blade was the first real deal Marvel movie. Howard the Duck happened in the 80s and it was all right. It happened. We moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Blade happened in 98 and everyone was like, oh shit, this is dope. X-Men happens in 2000 and it's like, okay, we're really getting there. This is officially Marvel is doing it. And then Spider-Man 2002 comes out and it's just like, fuck everything you knew prior to this, Marvel wise. We're doing shit right. I don't think it's the greatest movie of all time or anything, but it's a damn good movie. It's amongst the best in the journey so far. Joe, how are you feeling?
Finally, something familiar. I felt like I came out of the womb watching this movie because it came out before my brain could even really function and remember anything. So
right.
That is basically how I remember it.
I've known this movie all my life.
Yeah, I've told the story many times. I have ruined a Blockbuster VCR of this movie because I watched it so many times, and the Blockbuster guy gave it to me because of how many times I rented it. It literally blew up out of my VCR, and I had to go get a new one. At that point, DVDs came out, and I got the DVDs. So that problem went away, but that is how much I watched these movies. This was... my parents hated how much I watched this movie. It was the only movie I would watch as a kid. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. Over and over and over. And, it's the first movie on this project where I watched the movie before. X-Men was like that, where I did actually watch the movie as a somewhat grown-up and I could memorize the movie. But, this is a movie that I have watched forever. And that this is the first time in the project where I'm very comfortable, and it is finally a nostalgic movie. So yeah, this has been one I've been waiting for quite a while. I can't wait to get into it. There's been haven't been able to talk about this movie in this amount of detail ever.
We've never done a podcast on the Spider-Man Raimi trilogy. This is This is a first, when it came to the Batman movies. We've done something we titled the Batman binge. We talked the Dark Knight trilogy. We talked Batman and Robin. This was 3 years ago. 4 years. It's a long time ago now that we talked about it on the podcast. And my perspective of the movies has changed. And it's funny, like, that's the danger of podcasting for a long time, is that there are like very different accounts of how I feel about things all over the place. Like, because my feelings change so much, like, I love a movie one day, or I hate a movie 3 years ago. I love it now, like, and there's these two different sides of me that you get on this podcast. Luckily, my opinion of this movie has never changed. I love this movie, and I have always loved this movie. And it'll be a good one to talk about. This was definitely far and away the most comic book influences that I've listed for us. We have Spider-Man's first appearance in Amazing Fantasy number 15, which thoroughly influenced this movie, more so than I really remembered. Because I've read Amazing Fantasy and I've watched Spider-Man, but I've never done it back to back, and they are just, it's blatant as all fuck. That they're like the wrestling match he goes to make $100, which is funny because he gets slid $100 bill right after, which I thought was interesting. Like little homages like that. It was so fucking cool. Bunch of Green Goblin's appearances, Mary Jane's first appearance, Harry Osborn's first appearance, and then Ultimate Spider-Man, which I think truly is where the more recent comic book at the time, 2002, Ultimate Spider-Man was the most recent version of Spider-Man and was a blatant influence on this, almost beat for beat. A lot of stuff overlapping there. And I'd argue this is probably the most honorable to comic books we've ever gotten.
That's what I was going to say, is that the way I've been kind of treating the comics going through is I've tried my best to go from the absolute earliest point to the newest point. I've tried to go in chronological order as best as I can. And like, it is really cool. Like, for one, just a side note of the comics is like, sometimes you see the little advertisements that they put in there. Like, it's not related to the story whatsoever, but it's cool. Like, seeing what an advertisement in the 60s or the 70s, what would look like, like, sort of thing. So that's just a side note, whatever. But like, seeing how the character develops over time, and like, this movie came out in 2002. All of these comics were out like that. That's the thing. There's so many comic books that this could have been based off of. Unlike whenever we're covering Batman before, they didn't really have the vast, huge library to choose from. It was like, still a new-ish
Batman
character.
66, he'd only been a character for about 20 years.
So this is cool seeing an already well-established character coming to the big screen. And having all those comics before, well knowing what the movie is, like reading the comics and being like, oh, that was just, that's like really cool. Like, I didn't even watch the movie and I'm reading all the comics and I'm like picking up on things. But then as I watch the movie, I pick up on like the smaller things that like I would have never even thought about as being like a reference, at all to a comic. But these comics were really fun. I really enjoyed these ones. Were super easy to read just because of how much I love Spider-Man 2. So yeah, these ones were overall really good. I loved just, it didn't seem like a chore at all. Like, no. It was just actually fun reading through these. So.
No, for sure. Mike, did you get a chance to take a look-see at these?
Of course I did. I took a gander at every single one you sent. But like previously mentioned in the other podcast, not a big reader. So I just kind of stuck to the pictures, kind of went through that. And I definitely, I can agree with everything you guys have been saying, along from the and sort of like just referencing from the movie to just the smallest little things of what actually happened in the movie to the comic book. So yes.
No, 100%. That's the beauty of comic books, is that while they are a reading medium, they are a visual medium. A good comic book, I'm of the mind, you could remove the words completely and get the story and be just fine. And I think that's something that Steve Ditko, particularly in the early Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man issues, did very, very well. There's this panel, and I think the Amazing Spider-Man #1, it might be an Amazing Fantasy. I can't remember specifically which one, but that Sam Raimi like blatantly homages, where you got like a series of newspapers cascading down the side and Spider-Man swinging across the panel. And we get that almost exactly in the movie whenever we see the montage of the fucking newspapers like flying by and Peter Parker like walk up and like stare into the camera and then put his mask on. Yeah, like there's a lot of really, really cool, just like not beat for beat, but panel for shot kind of influence. And it's really refreshing, you know, like coming off of a few movies that aren't incredibly comics based, and Blade, X-Men. Like X-Men is comic book based, but the story was very movie original. This had elements of stuff that already existed, and they managed to elevate on it in a really meaningful way, you know, like in Amazing Fantasy. One thing that's hilarious to me that the movie definitely does better is that the guy he lets run past, it wasn't even because some dude smited him. It's just because he was like, "Oh, I'm too big for this. I'm a big star now. I don't have time for all that." And then it's not like he got killed in the carjacking. That same guy just happened to like the next day rob his house. Which that's a little goofy. You know, I think the movie did that better, as far as like,
makes more sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's, I mean, it's a fantastic scene. The way this movie's, set up, like, it was one thing we were very complimentary of X-Men for, was like, the pins they set up early in the movie, they always managed to knock down later on. And, I think that's like a really big strength of this movie, is that there's nothing that you're like, whoa, we're taking it there. Because there's that's been a big problem with a lot of comic book movies we've covered, is like, wow, okay, sure, we're going to go there. This is all just like, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, like that is the natural next step to this story. And, it's a huge credit to it, I think.
It's corny at some times. Like, it is, you know, there are some lines, obviously, it's a superhero movie, it's a comic book movie, it's going to be that way. You're dealing with superheroes. When you actually look at like what's happening to the characters, and like maybe if you just had like, say, like, imagine Tobey Maguire was like Leonardo DiCaprio and Mary Jane was, I don't know, like, you know, just like two just absolute just dominant act. Like, can you imagine like just actually the story that happens between them? Like, the girl who's getting like just ridiculed by her family, and her current boy Tool is just dick, whatever. And then like the nerdy boy like slowly talking her up, like they're slowly falling in love. They've loved each other. You know, like, it's actually like the story is so good. Like, the actual story that's there is so good. It's just kind of the performances sometimes that brings out the little bit of corniness, or like the corny writing in some little lines. But
for sure, the dialogue can get a little corny, and it's campy. That's one thing I love about this movie, is that like I think it's thoroughly influenced by Superman 78 and Superman 2, especially in the romance side of things. Like the way Spider-Man blatantly tries to tell her he's Peter Parker without telling her he's Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. Like, you know who I am. Yeah, I do. I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like, I was just in the neighborhood. He literally said that to her minutes ago. Like, it's like,
whenever they're making the choice, he's MJ. And then she looks at him like how you just said MJ. And then he says, Mary Jane. And then like, it's like very, like, I don't know. It was, I like how it's, you know, I would have liked maybe if she started to figure it out more, or like more towards that, instead of just being like the initial look and then not thinking of it at all afterwards. But at least it's not like, I'm going to kiss you and you'll forget everything I just told you. You know, like, at least they're not just like doing that. It's kind of what they do with Harry, which is kind of funny.
This shit makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Than Superman. Like, it's easier to go, there's a mask. She literally cannot see his face.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, Clark Kent. All right, you got to be figuring that out. Okay, you spend enough time close enough to both of them. The same face.
Nothing gets past me. It's definitely not just that you're looking at the same person constantly. You know, I don't know.
Same voice.
I guess that's fair.
No, same everything. Same everything. They're the same guy. No, that's one. I do love this movie for, it is campy. And the reason I say it is influenced by Superman 78 is that it still takes itself extremely seriously. One thing I have a problem with the MCU, and I bring this up all the time, is that whenever they reference something in universe that sounds goofy, they make fun of it. What's your name? Otto Octavius. No, for real, man. What's your name? There's no way you with the 8 legs is called Otto Octavius.
Yeah, just own it at that point, you know?
The fact that in this movie they do the very opposite. Spider-Man proposes a worse name.
Yeah.
And they go, no, I'm going to make sure you're called something else. Okay. Like, he's like, the humans, he got my name wrong. I'm not going out there. Like, shit was so fucking funny, man.
You know, I almost put him as my favorite character.
Bruce Campbell.
He's the constant in all the movies. He plays a different role every time. He's the wrestling announcer here. He's like the usher,
Maitre d', yeah.
And then what is he in Multiverse of Madness? He's a hot dog stand guy, you know, that punches himself for 2 weeks, 3 weeks straight. What is he in the third movie? Or is the third movie where he's the usher?
Is it just
the third movie is where he's the usher?
So what is he in the second one?
There's always one I forget what he did. He's the wrestling announcer. He's a maitre d'.
kind of like another Lee where he just like has these little small roles?
Well, originally he was conceptualized to be Mysterio, a Spider-Man villain.
Oh, okay.
And to play a role in Spider-Man 4, which never happened. So it was like he was going to be there all throughout the first 3 movies, and then he was going to be like, yeah, I've been manipulating you your whole fucking life.
Oh, ooh, I like that.
Oh, it would have been fucking awesome.
Why did that happen?
Studio stuff. They just... Stuff on the business side of things couldn't follow through with what the creative direction wanted to do.
What's a Wait, so he plays the snooty usher in Spider-Man 2 and a maitre d' in Spider-Man 3. I didn't know just a maitre d'. I thought that was just the official name for the usher. I don't even know what a maitre d'. I don't know. I guess I didn't know what that is.
Is that at like a restaurant?
Oh. Okay, wait. So he's the usher that doesn't let Spidey go in to Mary Jane's show in the second one. In the third one, he's at a hotel. Ooh, but is the show at what? Yeah, what happens in the third one?
I guess we'll find out when we get there. But
okay, yeah,
we'll remember
no,
eventually.
My favorite character.
It always fits eventually.
Yeah. Not my favorite character is what I was trying to get to out of that. Like I was like the Alfred, the constant of Alfreds, and I was like, okay, let me pull through Spider-Man, but no, he's a different character will be the favorite character.
I was tempted to go J. Jonah Jameson for a favorite character. I fucking love J.K. Simmons' portrayal of J. Jonah Jameson.
Your wife's on line 1, instantly hangs the phone. Like she doesn't even finish the sentence, and he hangs up. Like I literally laughed. Like I didn't notice that before, and I literally laughed. Like it actually got me. Like I was like, how have I not noticed that before? Dude, just and like whichever one's cheaper. You know, that's like that. I don't know. It's just from rip. That dude is hilarious.
We have a problem. We've double booked page 6. He's like, move 1 to page 10. It can't be done. Do it. You know, like he's like, fuck it. Like do whatever.
20% off. Actually, give him 10. Give him 5. Can't be done. Do it anyway. Yeah. It's, never say I gave you a job, kid.
Yeah, my favorite
best thing in the world for you.
My absolute favorite J. Jonah Jameson scene is when Green Goblin does burst a hole in his wall, and he's like, "Who gives you the pictures of Spider-Man?" And he's like,
"They come in the mail."
Not going to tell you that. Like that's really fucking cool.
Snitch.
You know, like he holds
it
down. Like that's. I was like, okay, J. Jonah Jameson's low-key a real one. He's a little, like, obviously he's fucking nuts, and he's a conspiracy nut, and he does a lot of ridiculous shit. But that's some cool shit right there.
He was right there. Peter was right there. He could have been
like that guy.
Literally, like, he just gave me these pictures right here. Take them. I don't want to die. Like, he could have, but he didn't snitch.
Highlighting what you guys have been talking about him, I just want to say one quote that you guys didn't mention before. So Peter comes in asking for a job after he hands these awesome photos that he got taken of Spider-Man. And he's like, no, I can't do that. You just freelance. It's what you want. It's kid your age. It's what you want to do. And he's like, you know what? Best I can do, meat package. I'll send you some meat for Christmas. You want
That's right. He does say that.
A box of meat. Like, that is what? What are you
That's
doing?
the best I can do. I'll give you a $300 check for these pictures and a box of Christmas meats. Yeah, what a thing to hear from your new boss that's not your boss because you don't have a job. But yeah, well, oh man.
Well, and I love that he's like, crap.
Yeah,
he's like,
he looks at him, and he looks back at Peter like, oh my god. And then he's like, all right, business mode. Shit, This is terrible. I'll give you what, $200. He only gives him $100 more.
That's what's funny is he's like $200, and then he's like, or you can walk, and he's like, okay, I'll walk, and he's like, all right, fucking shit, I didn't think you'd wait, come back, I thought you'd just take the money, I'll give you $300.
I guess that is 3 times what he got from the wrestling match, though.
And then he says like the 300 was like the minimum.
Yeah, so that's the standard freelance fee.
200. He's like, okay, now I'll offer you the standard low. I was like, oh.
Yeah, he was like, I was trying to fuck you over before.
Yeah, what a guy. No, but I mean, I guess if it hasn't been obvious, Tobey Maguire is my favorite character. It's Spider-Man. It's him as Peter Parker, him as Spider-Man. If you have a solo movie, you should. That is what should happen with these movies. Performance will get there. It's not Tobey Maguire. And I think that one's kind of obvious who the performance might be going to. But I might have to do some more thinking on that one, actually. But character's definitely going to Spidey. That's just without a doubt.
No, 100%. I think the way they brought this character to life in live action was one of the most fulfilling live action adaptation of a character since Superman.
Yeah.
Which is kind of great. Like, I don't think any of the Batman movies do what this managed to do quite on that level. You know, I think Batman Forever does a really good job, but I don't think it does like, oh, that's the peak. That is what Batman should be. No, like, I think this and Superman 78 did what those characters are supposed to be. And like, whenever, like I said, whenever Green Goblin does burst into J. Jonah Jameson's office, and then he like runs out of the room and he goes around and he drops down, and J. Jonah Jameson's like, I knew you two were in this together, and he like webs his mouth shut and he goes, shut up, mommy and daddy need to discuss something. Like, that's hilarious. You know, like, that's so fucking funny. And like the little quips, he's got them on lock. You know, I usually just in my head go, Andrew Garfield has the best quips, I think, and I still think that. But like, I was just paying attention to that a little bit more. He does a pretty good job. He holds his own with the snide remarks.
I think the thing of his quips here that I noticed this watch is that, like, he slowly gets more and more confident as the movie goes on, in suit and out of suit. When he's in suit, he's fully confident because he's in a mask, and like, that's the whole point. You can be whoever he is Spider-Man at that point, not Peter Parker. So he is confident. He's doing whatever. But whenever every interaction he has with Mary Jane, they're so awkward at the beginning. You know, it's like, even watching it, you're like, ooh, like, you know what's coming, and it's still awkward. But then, like, he tests the waters a little bit more. After he's Spider-Man, he's like, she starts to walk away, and he's like, oh no, I wouldn't have said something before, now I have to. He's like, oh, we could go grab lunch, I'll come get coffee one time. And it was still awkward, it was still like a defeat, but he tested a little bit more, and he kept getting further and further and further. And then, like, after that point,
the first time he doesn't say anything.
I know, yeah.
When he catches her, and catches all the fucking food on the tray, and then she's like, wow, nice reflexes. And then he's like, oh.
That took like 180 shots to get. They did it legitimately, and they just did it over and over until it fell well, which is
absurd. An absurd idea.
You know, do you know how they did it? Literally, Tobey Maguire was standing there with a tray on his hand. However many things dropped, there was a person for that. They were literally like laying on a ladder, like just laying there waiting to drop that single thing right there. Like like one person dropped a milk carton, one person dropped a bowl, one person dropped the whatever. Like, and that's just how they did it over and over till they got it right. And that's like, why? After 100 times, do you think that like you might just do something else? And I don't know. I love that, like, they went through that. Like, even for that little scene, they were like, Spider-Man would catch all this shit. He would do that. We have to make it happen. And they were like, we're going to do it. We're going to stick to it.
Simple.
So, I don't know. See, the line I have in here I think was just a placeholder so that I can mention how corny this movie is. I don't think it is my favorite line of the movie, but it is Peter and MJ are in their backyard. Peter's taking the trash out. MJ just got yelled at. This is like their dream conversation. What's your plan, after high school? And then Peter goes into like, you're a great actor. I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella. And then MJ goes, Peter, that was the first grade. And then he goes, well, even so, sometimes you can just see what's coming. So like, it kind of, in that one line, like even though it's corny and it's not the best line in the movie, without a doubt, whatever, it encapsulates like what the whole movie is. It's that corny ass line, but then Peter draws it right back in saying like, sometimes you just know people. Like it actually makes it meaningful. And like it wasn't just corny for corny's sake. It was like, I don't know. It brought it back and like actually tied it into the story and like made his nerdy absolute simp quality. Like you don't say like that is no, like you didn't cry like a baby. You don't, that's really creepy to say or really, I don't know, weird, but like the way that the scene just works out and, she leaves to go see the new car that, they just got, whatever. Like, immediately she's taken away from, the distractions that's or whatever. But this is, by the end of the movie, what makes her realize the one person I think of when I was about to die was you, Peter. Like, that's like, I don't know. And that line doesn't hit if you don't like have all of those things before.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That is a really cool payoff to their romance is that like, I've had not complaints about this movie, but I've heard complaints about this movie where people go, their romance doesn't make sense. Like her saying that at the end being like, it was you who I thought about, which I mean, like on surface level, no, it doesn't really make sense, but it is laid throughout the movie that he was always there for her. Whenever he like stops by after she did the audition and she's like, oh, you came by? What's going on? He's like, well, I heard through the grapevine, your mom tells my mom, or your mom tells my aunt who told me. And,
I was in the neighborhood.
I took 2 buses and a subway.
Yeah, like, I don't know. That's the thing is that Peter was the only person in that movie other than maybe Aunt May to show any sort of love to MJ. Harry, I'll buy you things. It'll make you feel better. And then when his dad said that at Thanksgiving, he was like, and then he literally was exactly his dad to her. Like in that second, don't talk about things you don't understand, woman. Like, are you kidding? Like what, dude? Like, come on, Harry. You're like, whatever.
Harry's a piece of shit.
But,
your boy's been in love with this girl since the 4th grade and you knew that. He tells his dad he's been in love with her since the 4th grade.
There's no one on this planet that Peter cares for more. He even says, other than his Aunt May, I think literally
dickhead at that point.
Yeah,
like damn.
Yeah. Steal your girl.
Yep.
Like that's
only
just
way.
Brutal.
Only way. But Joe,
and
since you did.
Like ask you how you'd feel, like, hey, would this affect us or anything? He just tries to go behind his back, even though Peter only talks to Harry and occasionally MJ because they're neighbors. Like,
was his plan to bring it up Thanksgiving dinner?
Terrible.
I don't think he had a plan. I think he was going to keep it a secret for as long as he possibly could until he found out. But Joe, since you did do favorite line, let's go around the circle, and we'll start with Michael. If you had a favorite line in this movie, what was it?
All right, so I had an honorable mention with this one. Colton, you said it earlier. I just wanted to go back and highlight it because I thought it was just really funny. It was when Peter and Mr. Jameson were talking in his office, and then Green Goblin comes in, and they start kind of like their little interaction, and then he just like shoots the web at Mr. Jameson's face, and he's like, "Hey, kiddo, let mom and dad do the talking." I thought that was really funny because it just kind of shows like how Mr. Jameson, he thinks he's like this high, big powered man, and he just got shut up he's like a little brother. He just wants to do all the talking. Like, no, shut up for a second. Let the adults figure this out, okay? So that was my honorable mention. But my favorite line was when Peter let the robber run by, and the officer was like, "Damn, you could have like helped out or whatever." And then the guy that stiffed him the money comes by. He's like, oh, you let the guy get away with my money. And he's like, oh, I missed the part where that's my problem. Takes what he said to him about the $3,000 stiffing him and just shoves it right back into his face.
Then he learns the lesson of how it is his problem. It was his problem letting him go. Like, that's the whole...
Back forth real quick right there, but I like that little of like, hey, you just pieced me up a little bit, so I'm going to give that right back to you. I'm not going to take shit.
Totally,
that's extremely human of him, too. I absolutely would not have done shit.
That's, no, like, you can't, like, I hate when people are like, oh, he should have stopped him, like, and then his uncle wouldn't have died and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, for one, that's his origin. Like, Uncle Ben, like, needs to die and, like, to give him the line, you know, like, he needs to go through this experience to make him inspired. It's, like, part of his origin, whatever. But, like, the part of, like, how would Peter ever in his mind think, oh yeah, if I let this guy go, he's gonna go kill my uncle? How is that ever in his mind whatsoever? No. That is what this teaches him. That is the point of this entire thing, is to, yes, in the instant gratification, he felt very instantly fulfilled, and like, he dissed the dude who just dissed him, and it felt good. But then in the long term, it was very, very bad. So like, the lesson that he learns is that even if maybe in the time it seems like the right thing to do, you always got to do the right thing. You know, he learned what Uncle Ben taught him in this moment, really, here.
Yeah, so, and it's the reason why I feel remiss not to go with great power comes great responsibility.
I think if someone was going to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you got to at some point, but it's the operative thesis for what all Spider-Man stories tell, especially the early ones in the comics we read. You know, like, I was watching the movie, like, Peter Parker is a little bit of a dick. He's flawed. He's not a he's a good guy. You know, it's not like he's a bad dude or anything, but like, he's human. He fucks up. He makes mistakes. And I like that the comics were like, as soon as he got the power, he was like, well, I'm gonna get famous. I'm not going to use this to help anybody. I'm going to go ahead and make money off this. I'm Peter Palmer. I'm going to go ahead and make some money off of this. And I like the way that they act on that in the movie. You know, like, he's not whenever he is entering the ring, and like the guy announces him as the Amazing Spider-Man, and he's like, he got my name wrong. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. What?
Just gave you the best upgrade you could have ever asked for.
Like, what the fuck? What? You're a little annoying little shit there.
And how he tells off Uncle Ben, like, whenever he's like, stop trying to be. Like, whenever he's like, I'm, you know, I know I'm not your father, Pete. He's like, well, stop trying to be. And it was like, like, man, that's the last thing I'll ever say to him, you know? And that's just, well, not actually, I guess. He says Uncle Ben, I think, is the last line that he says to him, technically.
Peter.
But, yeah, it's just like having like him leave like that. And it's like, yeah, he is a teenager. He is like going through changes, big changes. And like he has to deal with that. And I don't know. It's
through changes.
I don't know. That scene was tough, picking like the scene, because most memorable scenes when I'm like, out of watching this movie, it's like Bonesaw. Bonesaw is like he's
ready.
Such a small part of the movie, but he's so memorable. Like, holy crap! I don't know if I can't really pick that as my favorite part. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
I like the way they modernized stuff from that first Amazing Fantasy story, where like Flash in that is like a douchey '60s bully, where he's got the blonde hair and he's the pretty boy, and he's like, yeah. And then Flash is like the fucking beefy, like, yeah, what's up? My name might as well be Chad. You know, like, that's Flash in this movie. He's a very early 2000s, late 90s type of villain. The wrestler in the comic is a very stereotypical back in the day wrestler. This guy is like the epitome of what wrestling culture was at that time. Like, it's
like the
Bonesaw, he's ready.
He looks like the Undertaker, like from WWE. He actually kind of looks like him, but like mixed with another wrestler that I can't think. I don't know why. It's like if the Undertaker and maybe like Triple H had a baby from the WWE, you get Bonesaw.
Like Kurt Angle or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, Bonesaw was sick. It was always fun watching that. And how he literally webs in front of everyone there and flips and does like a triple backflip and hangs on the wall, and everyone's just like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, I guess they're watching like wrestling. I don't know, but like,
it could be a prop of some sort.
They really just accepted that at face value. Like, they were just very okay with that. And I mean, the Amazing Spider-Man, I feel like if anyone knows the secret identity of Spider-Man, it's this wrestling organization that knows that Peter... Did he sign up as Peter Palmer, or did he sign up as Peter Parker?
Well, he didn't sign up as anything. He wore a mask and...
But you don't think... So, like, he just walked in there, no ID, just...
There was no contract he had to sign. She was like, do you agree that this is... True. Like, we're not responsible for any of your shit? And he was like, I agree. And they're like, cool, fuck. And how about Octavia Spencer, who was like a relatively big actress now?
Yeah.
Being in a microscopic role in Spider-Man 2002, just taking in signups for the wrestling league. Like, I don't know. I thought that was awesome. What I love too is that, like, the way they handle that in the comic, who do I make the check out to? And he's like, Spider-Man. And he's like, well, you're going to have a fucking tough time cashing that. Like, here's the thing. Leave it blank. I'll fill it out.
That's true.
Solved. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, you're giving me the money. It's not like me putting my name there is stealing any more money from you, or whatever. But
you fill out the amount, I'll fill out the name. We're chilling.
That's kind of badass too, to say that. Like, I'll fill that out.
Yeah,
like, you don't gotta worry.
You don't worry about that shit. You don't worry about that shit. I am. You don't know who I am. You don't know my name. You don't know my story.
Okay.
But scene. We were on scene. What is your favorite scene, Joe?
I think the most memorable thing as a kid was whenever he is drawing the suit. Whenever he's taking the paper, like, it's not anything crazy going on, but as a kid, this is like, I don't know why. I loved to draw. This is what got me to draw, like, in the first place. The first things I did draw were Spider-Man in his suit, and I would even, like, symbol, question mark, write all the different like, I would do what he did in a composition notebook just over and over. I don't know why. Because I felt like that is who I wanted to be as a kid. And this scene, like, now watching it, now, like, I loved it for that as a kid. Now, he is taking all, like, you see in his mind what he's thinking while he's drawing. You see that, he's thinking of the spider that bit him, so that's the symbol. Obviously, I'm come from spider. I have spider abilities. My symbol is a spider. And then he's like, I need more color. The next thing he thinks of, Mary Jane's hair, and he's like, red. I know that's my girl. I love that girl. Red into my suit. And then, like, he arrives at it, and he's like, this is it. Like, I found my suit. This is, I don't know. Like, I love the music swelling there, him thinking of MJ, him thinking of all of his powers, just everything coming together. Not an important scene in the movie, not like, like, if I had to pick, like, an actual thing, it'd be probably later in the movie when he has to make a very hard choice, like with MJ or with Green Goblin at the end, like, that would be the scene. Like, actually, so it's tough, like, weighing the options, but, like,
it's all favoritism here. It's not what's the best scene, it's what was your favorite scene.
I think I do just have to go with that. I put it down immediately because it was the first one to pop up. That was big enough to take the slot. And then the only things that were going to take it would either be like the conversation that Peter has with Aunt May about MJ and about, like, is it really so bad? Would it be really so bad just to let her know how you feel? And, like, how, like, she heard all of that and, like, how it was just so cute. So, like, that's the thing, is that my favorite scenes are probably not the big action flashy scenes, like, whenever I think about it. So I think I'll just go with his drawing montage, because that's, like, I don't know, that's what really got me into him as a kid. Like, not the only thing, but a big reason. And
Well, the way it's shot too, like that's so Sam Raimi. Like it's so overwhelmingly Sam Raimi. Like if you've watched Multiverse of Madness, the whole montage where Scarlet Witch is like trying to access the different realities, and you get like an overlay of her face with like something else moving across the screen, and like it's just like he's just got such a distinctive style on that scene more than a lot of them.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize that is like Spider-Man. It's so good that they were like, all right, we have to get these two previous actors and put them in the new movie. Can you imagine if they did that with Batman? How weird that would be? If like we saw Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, like I don't like that's I've never thought that I would want that, but I've always thought of all the Spider-Men coming together though. I guess we're closer together in literal time that the movies have been made, so that's easier. But like I don't know. It would be kind of weird with Batman if that happened. You know, I don't know that
happen with Batman.
Yeah, like
well, it doesn't make. There's not a story where that makes sense. Like the Spider-Verse exists in comics, and again, we talked about him on an episode during our comic book character draft. Dan Slott. He actually conceived of the Spider-Verse. That was his idea. He was the first person to write that down. And so it only made sense that eventually, live action wise, they would go, we have 3 Spider-Men who are still very capable of doing this. Why not go ahead and do it? It was only a matter of time, but that is a great scene. It's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. But Mike, what about you? What is your favorite scene?
So we touched up on it a little bit earlier. Joe went in great detail. He actually had a lot more detail than I prepared about Peter catching all the food on the tray. The reason why that was my favorite scene is just because, like, I feel like a lot of people don't know that they actually had to practice that and do that. It wasn't just like, oh, we're gonna slowly drop these things and then we'll just like do some visual edits and make it look clean. Like, no, he actually literally had to stand there and catch all these 5 or 6 food items at the same time, and then just leads like right into him kicking Flash's butt in front of the school. Like he rushes to his locker real quick. He's like scrambling, like, what do I do? Like there's webs coming out of me. I don't know how to control this. Like I don't know what to do. And then it's just like slow-mo, guy spitballing, paper airplane, and then out of nowhere just Flash's fist and he just dodges that. But really, I don't get this, and I think it was just really funny and it caught me off guard. It's like, so everyone's expecting Peter to get his butt kicked by Flash and then Flash's friend or whatever. That doesn't happen. He backflips out of it, dodges, blocks, counters, and then he's like, man, you are a freak. Like, we won't be freaks because we beat you up, but since you beat us up, you're a freaking freak, man. Like, I was like, no, like, you're not a freak. You just got your ass kicked.
I was wondering if it's like, that doesn't make sense at all, fighting. Is it just because he walked out of the cafeteria with like the webs and like the tray was like going up, so they're like, what is that? He's already a freak, and then like he won, so he must be a freak. Like I was trying to come like, yeah,
the way he won.
I guess he did triple
like
backflip.
This man seems like he knows shit. He does like a triple backflip, flips over them. He does all the fucking blocks he needs to, and then punches him in the chest once and sends him flying.
Sent him actually 20 feet, like actually 20 feet backwards.
If I watch somebody do this, I think it's cool. I don't call them a freak, but if I was afraid, I would be like, yo, this person is dangerous. I should not fuck with this person. So that's where the freak comes from, is that if you saw someone do this, you would call them a freak athlete. Like, yeah.
I guess that's like the equivalent of like a really weird, quiet nerd that like from our high school. I don't want to throw anyone's name out there, but just that's like the equivalent of just a really
Joe George. That would be
okay. That's like me in high school beating the crap out of Michael after doing a triple backflip, sending him 20 feet flying after catching food on, that's like, that would be kind of whack.
Yeah, if we were in, y'all remember the hallway, right? I remember the apple toss where you guys tried to catch it in the mouth. Yeah, like that hallway, just basically meeting there, trying to fight, and Joe, you do a triple backflip over Michael, I would absolutely walk up to you, point in your face, and go, "You fucking freak!"
Like that's. I mean, it's awesome because this is if it's your favorite scene, it's where my favorite shot from the movie comes from. I saw Colton where you did. It is the best shot in the movie, I think, without a doubt, critically, whatever. But this, during the fight, it's his Spidey sense going off, and it slows everything down, and it zooms through. It shows a fly, shows a paper airplane, shows a spitball, and then it finally comes into Flash's fist. Like it's a oneer, but obviously visually, like it's
visual effects, but it is a oneer.
Yeah, it's a oneer, a visual effect oneer, and the transition from Flash's fist over to like Peter's face, and then he like dodges it, and he realizes like, oh, like this is really cool. Like what is going on here? So it's like the first kind of time of his Spidey sense coming out. And it's like through that shot, they really show how it makes sense why if a punch is coming at him, it makes perfect sense for him to dodge every punch, dodge every little, if he can know that a fly is, right there and a little spitball and like he senses everything, like, I don't know, in camera, like they showed his Spidey sense, which I think is really cool and I think done really well. So. Oh,
it is. Like, I think my favorite depiction of Spidey sense is still Spider-Man No Way Home. The dolly zoom where they all just like in the back, like it's incredible. But this is like as a first one, it's incredible. Like it's a very, very good choice. And picking out a favorite scene for me was difficult, like excruciatingly difficult.
So many
because
options.
There's so many fantastic and memorable scenes in this. Like I almost went with Green Goblin's origin, like him being created, just because when I was a kid, that horrified me.
Cold, like it being cold, getting in the tank. That is, like that scene was
like him shaking in there. Fuck yeah, I remember that vivid. Him jumping out and like sitting like he's on the fucking glider. Like I don't know, like I loved it. Back to formula. I'll never forget it. So that was a candidate. I didn't go with it. I'm gonna list all the candidates because I just want to shine light on what my favorites were. The Thanksgiving scene when Norman realizes. That's fucking great. And we will have like a whole conversation about that. So I'll go ahead and put that off for now, but that was a candidate. But I had to go nostalgic with it. Like what I remember from the moment he looks at his hands and they show the little pricklies. That might be the most memorable, like, I wished so bad when I was a kid that one day those would just pop up on my hand and I'd be able to stick to a wall. I wanted it so bad. And like, it was that shot. I would look at my hands so fucking close, praying that they would just pop up. So like, I loved that. And then like the way the music is coinciding with his, like each little step he takes, it's like, dun, 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 and it just keeps picking up the faster he goes. And then I'm like, so that's my favorite scene is him taking his powers for their first ride is, when he's jumping from building to building.
Yeah. Go Web, go!
Go Web, go!
Up
and away, Web!
And then the little hand movements he does, like the different things he tries, and then it like just works, and he's like, oh. I love how he's just a little kid trying things out. Like he's a teenager, and this is exactly the shit I would do if I was like, and I'm like, okay, paper sticking to me, weird. Can I climb wall? Like that'd be my first thought. Like, okay, and then like. That would shoot on my wrist. I'd be like,
down when he's up there. He's like, oh, like, I love that shit. But
he didn't even think about what he would do next. Like, cause he starts to swing and then he realizes like, oh wait, if I don't do anything, I'm just going to hit like, and he's like, he just doesn't know what to do. So he's like, he only thought of like, I wonder if this could hold me. Like these webs are pretty strong. I wonder if it could hold me. And he doesn't know his web. Like he doesn't know at that point. He's just like, well, okay. Let's go for it. Wow, it's the leap of faith.
It is the leap of faith. It's always a leap of faith. But I also love that there's like 3 DC references in this movie, and this scene possesses 2. Up and away is an allusion to Superman. Up and away, Web.
Even get Superman name drop straight up.
Yeah, that was the 3rd one. That's later. But Shazam.
Yeah, that was
Throws
cool.
out a Shazam.
Yeah.
He's trying to get his Captain Marvel shit going, which is hilarious. Like it's obvious that Marvel has a long history of alluding to DC, and it's interesting because I don't think it happens the other way around. I don't think DC does a whole lot of alluding to Marvel, but like that's what DC has up on Marvel is the iconicism of Batman and Superman. They exist infinitely. You cannot.
That's true.
Spider-Man's almost too specific. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like
if Spider-Man exists, then that's just like everyone else does at that point. But like if it's only it's weird. It could only be Batman and Superman. And like you're okay with that because like you're just it's not even like they're DC anymore. It's just they are public they are just pop culture figures. Like
and that's so cool. But that was just a part of my favorite scene. I remember when I was younger just dreaming of being able to do what he does in this scene. Just like wishing so badly one day I would stick my hand to a wall and it would stay there. You know, like I'd pull away and it would just like, oh shit.
One web might come out. You know, I would look at my wrists so hard too. Like, you know, and be like, try to like poke and move and be like, is there anything in there that could shoot out a web? You know, like, you know, and like I'd really, you know, but.
A natural web shooting thing.
Bold
choice. That's movie original. He usually creates web shooters. I was thinking about this. That has to fucking hurt, right?
I feel like it would sting.
Like, I'm imagining like shooting something out of my wrist. It's staying there and me holding onto it and swinging from it.
The tension, the way the physics, you wouldn't feel anything in your arm at that point if you're holding on to it. It would be nothing in your arm. It's only on where it sticks and where you're holding it that the tension would be. So you wouldn't actually feel it in your arm. I feel like the part that hurts is just while it's coming out, like a Wolverine-esque, you know, like every time it hurts, you know, it comes out of him. But like, I feel like as it's coming out of his skin, that's the part that would hurt. Like just how fast, like I feel like it would just like be a paper cut, but like, you know, just constantly. Like,
I could make another reference of something that comes out of your body fast and is white, and it kind of feels good.
Okay,
but I'm not going to go there.
I kind of want to go here for a second though, because a part that I didn't notice that I don't know if I'm thinking too much into it. Right after MJ and Peter kiss, the upside down, the iconic kiss, Peter, like, he stops and like he kind of dude nutted himself. I have full confidence in headcanon that Peter probably nutted himself because that's the most action he's ever got. That's his dream girl. That's everything. That's, you know, like literally Peter nutted because that's the most he's ever gotten. And he literally shoots a web. The web goes into the camera. Like, I mean, it's literally like he's spraying the camera with his web. And then when he's gone and after his moment, right, MJ then stands there, kind of has a little euphoric moment, and then it cuts to just the rain. That's all you see is water, rain flowing in the sky, empty. That's it. So it's like you see the web come, and then you see the woman euphoric, and then wet drip rain. And like, I literally think it was their way of being like, it was so
sexual experience.
It was basically a sexual experience. Yeah, it was like it. I mean, it was like the Superman. Lois Lane flight. Well, I guess they do get their first little flight, so they do get that too. So like, is really cool.
But I also love like that's something I've always loved about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like in Far From Home. Whenever he's wearing a new suit and he's like, it's a little tight around the web shooter. like that's blatant as all day what he's talking about there. So like I like that there's like this coded sexual thing that happens with Spider-Man's webs. It always has. Like it's a natural next step for anyone with a brain. But man, so that we've done line and scene. Joe's done his shot. Michael, how about you? You got a favorite shot in this movie?
Yeah, favorite shot is just one we just got done talking about. You know, it's the iconic upside down Spider-Man, probably his first ever kiss with his dream girl. You know, it's raining. She looks amazing. I think this is when I also like found out that like, oh, women are hot and attractive, and I like them because her and that little rain scene with her
the pink dress and the
oh my god,
the wet pink dress at that.
I did have a thing for redheads as a kid, and this is just another reason why.
First heart right there. Yeah. So I think that's my favorite shot, just the iconic upside down kiss. Can't go wrong with it.
You can't, and not to mention that scene brings in a classic superhero movie trope that we have commented on every time it comes up, where 4 dudes follow lady into alley, superhero has to save them.
Every time
from being assaulted, and it's a great trope.
It's even worse. 2 guys start. They see her, and then they look at each other, then they go follow her.
And then there's 4 guys.
The other 2 guys were just random passerbys that went along with it. They saw that these 2 guys were doing it, and they were like, yeah, we'll join you just instantly. So I don't know what's worse, the 2 guys that chose to do it, or just the 2 guys that instantly joined with no thought and were like, yes, we're a part of. They didn't know each other. I don't know, or maybe just all the people, the thugs around this area, they're all, they all know each other and they all plan these things. I don't know.
Unity.
But goddamn.
No, yeah, that is a great scene, and it was one that I considered going with for my shot. There were a few candidates for the shot here, and that was one of them. That was the only other one I was really considering, besides I saw it and I was like, now I have no choice. There was only one other that I was considering, and in fact, I'm still even kind of considering it now, even though I think this probably is the best shot in the movie.
If you don't go with it, I will.
I got you. I'll give my honorable mention then. When the helmet is sitting on the chair, on the corner of the chair, and it's speaking to Norman, and he's crawling towards it. They show a view from Norman's perspective of what he's seeing. And I was just like, oh, Sam Raimi just knows how to create an atmosphere. There's a vibe of this apartment or this house, particularly of the Osborn place, that reminds me of the scene in Multiverse of Madness when he wakes up in the morning and gets ready and just in the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's just, he creates an atmosphere that feels so familiar every time. And I think that shot really captured it, but I'm going to go with Norman giving Peter a choice. Let die the woman you love or suffer the children. And he drops them, and then it shows Peter's mask, MJ in one eye, the kids falling in the other, and I was like, physically, I know this isn't possible, but goddamn, do I fucking love it.
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It makes a beautiful shot. I don't give a fuck. And the funny thing is that immediately he's running after MJ. He said, fuck them kids. I mean, he knew he could save them both. He knew that was I obviously have to swipe in, save MJ first, then pick up the kids. So it's not him just being
it is the optimal way to save them both, is going after MJ first.
But it is just hilarious that it's presented. I give you a choice, the woman you love, and then just immediately you see him running away from the children in slow motion. It's in slow motion running away from the screaming children. It's hilarious. It's just hilarious. Knowing that he saves them both, obviously it's all good. I love that when he does save them both, Green Goblin was like, wait, really? You could do that? I really thought that if I dropped both at the same time, at least one of the groups would die. And he looks at him all right, whatever. And then starts to he couldn't actually believe it at first. He's like, damn.
He's like, son of a bitch. Well,
now you must die. That's actually what he says. Yeah, he's like, fuck. Now you must die. And then he puts his blades on and tries to run into him, and the only thing that stops him is New York in New Jersey. So
and that was what I wanted to talk about with the shot, because that was almost my scene. Nobody does bystander effect better than Sam Raimi does. The horror throughout the scenes earlier on where people are just running and screaming. I feel like we've lost sight of just how horrific some of the events that happen in superhero movies can be for the people experiencing it. And I feel like Sam Raimi does it so fucking well. But the fact that I love the way he portrays Community in New York. Like, you want to go through him, you got to go through us. This is New York. You don't fuck with us. Like he's like I love it. They're all throwing the shit at him, and like Spidey saves New York. New York saves Spidey. I think I love that. I love that so much. And, it's one of my favorite things that Raimi does with the first two movies specifically. It's just super well done. I really love it. But I
mean, after that though, like it's great. Like the sequence of events that happens here is that this is like the third act of the movie, where usually we're getting lightning storms that are coming down and hitting vampires and starting a vampire ritual, or a freaking Danny DeVito as the Penguin. It's the third acts were always insane, and we were like, what happened? This time it's like it's ramping up and up and up, and you're like, oh my god, like he just saved MJ and the kids, everything just got saved, New York saved Spidey, and then wham, he gets thrown like into an abandoned building through so many walls. You see him like actually evade a lot of stuff, like really cool, like first person, and like seeing how he does it, and then like he doesn't see through like a window or something, and that's what he crashes through first, and then tumbles over, getting the absolute snot beat out of him. He gets blown up, and then like you think like, oh, he's fighting back, like he's gonna do it, and then like I feel like the scene, if I were to pick like my critical scene, it's this right here at the end of the fight. Whenever it's me, Peter. No, it's me. No, it's, I'm taking off the mask, and, Norman comes out for a little bit.
Take my hand.
And
that's
then
the time that, like, anyone's figured out that Norman is Green Goblin, right?
As far as in the movie is concerned, yes.
The board members, maybe, because they're like, that's our glider, and then he blows him up and kills him. That's why he had to kill them instantly, because he had to get the company back, and they couldn't know, whatever. Yeah. But like,
don't tell Harry.
That's the first time in the movie that anyone is like, oh, you are the Green Goblin. And I love how like Norman does come back for a little bit, like actually, like that was Norman for a couple seconds, but he gets taken right back super quick. Like he's right back.
Don't let him take me again.
Yeah, and then moves his hand, like does it. It's so sad, and knowing that in No Way Home he was taken out right before this happened and put into the events of No Way Home, then he went back to the moment right before his glider stabbed. Like that's the thing. When he went back in his universe, did Willem Dafoe instantly get stabbed by his glider? Or because every other villain was taken right before their death. That's when they were taken, right? And then they were all put back in. So like, were they put back in a way where they didn't die in their universe? Is that to be believed? Or like, did they just wake up with the minds that they had in their current universe?
I think for that story to work, it can't be putting them right back into where they were right before they died.
Because if it is, him going, oh, makes it really funny. Like, obviously they could not have planned for that, but him being like, going through all of that change and being like, I'm good now. Like, or, like, it's okay. Like, everything's, and then like, oh, well, I'm dead anyways.
He's like, shit, don't tell Harry.
So,
this, that leads me really succinctly into the best performance, which I can't imagine varies across the board. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin is pretty fucking good at what he does. Just like all the scenes where he's acting opposite himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When he's speaking to the mirror.
Into a mirror. And
oh my god, I loved it.
The hair.
I loved it.
Oh my god. He like,
and I will destroy everyone who seeks to do us harm. And he's like, what? And like he looks at it like oh, I wasn't already reading this newspaper,
This is like the one time where I like really want to give the performance to like Sam Raimi if I could.
Right.
But like because like the performance critically, Willem Dafoe has the best. He had to reach the most. He actually performed the best. Like maybe Aunt May. Like critically, it is just Willem Dafoe. It's crazy. Like he's insane in this movie. But like
finish it. Deliver us from evil.
Oh, dude! And whenever he is looking down at Peter at the end, there you see his real teeth through the teeth of the mask, and he's like actually like growling too, and like showing his full like the shot. Like they make him look so menacing. That dude is evil as all hell. Dude had to program a woman's scream into his freaking costume to get Peter to come up there. Like, dude had to do that. That was his plan. Dude's a menace. Dude is
building.
Burnt down a building. Was fine with like that baby dying, whatever. Just to get, he literally told him, he's like, if you don't join me, innocents will die, and we'll just keep fighting forever and ever. He's like, I'm honest, like straight up. If you don't join me, I'll have to either kill you, or and doing that cause innocents to die, which I don't care about. So like, it is an ultimatum that I don't really ever think about when I was a kid, because I'm like, he's obviously evil and Spider-Man is going to just defeat him. But like in the real world, like I don't give people I don't know. In the real world, I think like it's just kind of like, okay, I join you. Like, it's just obvious. It's a no-brainer. Like, unless you are that good morally in an actual, like, hero, Like, in the real world, that just, like, this dude just gassed me. I'm paralyzed. He could kill me at any instant. I think after you get blown up and all that, like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, he even gives him one more chance. He does. He says, I'll give you one more chance. You
love to play the hero.
But obviously, you can't have him join him in the movie, though.
No, fuck.
That's the point of the movies to have.
With great power comes great responsibility. His responsibility is to fight back. It is his responsibility to protect these people.
Beautiful. And I don't know. That's like what I guess it really goes to show like how us being the target audience for this movie. Like we were maybe younger than the target audience actually, but like growing up with it, we were the target audience for this movie, and it was made in a way that parents could also enjoy it at the same time.
Oh, 100%. This movie used to fucking scare me.
Yeah.
Like whenever he is screaming up in that burning building and he like turns around and he's like, ha 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 ha. Like that shit was horrifying. Whenever they do that chop cut from, like when Peter's like laying down and then like they cut to like just randomly like Green Goblin right there, and then like he wakes up and he's like, like that's some good shit.
I forgot about the shot of all of the like blade grenades that he threw, and like the Matrix, all of him dodging them in slow motion. That was pretty sick. Is it better than his Spidey sense? Probably.
Yeah.
It's probably better than the Spidey sense shot. Like that's just him in suit, fighting the Green Goblin, dodging those, and that's like way more memorable in my mind too. I'm switching my shot actually to that.
Ironically enough, very memorable.
The Matrix.
Forgot about it.
The Spider-Man. I don't know what to call that.
Spidey dodges flying knives.
Flying ball knives.
Spidey dodges flying knives. There you go. I like it. Good enough for me.
He doesn't dodge them all completely though, and that brings me to one of my favorite scenes in the movie is whenever he makes it back to the apartment and they're like, Peter, I don't think Peter's here. And then they hear that thump and they're like, oh, let's go check on him. One and all, everybody. Let's all go up to Peter's room. Why don't we? All four of them are like, yeah, let's all go up there, which I think is already hilarious. This scene is why this might sound goofy as fuck. I check the ceiling of every room I enter. Every single room. I always walk into a room and I look up.
Wow.
Spider-Man's there?
Well, I don't think it'll be Spider-Man there. I'm just like, in case something's up there. You know, every single time I walk into a room, I check every corner. I look at the ceiling because I'm like, fuck no. I'm not about to let someone get the jump on me from above. No.
The closest thing I have to that is checking like the back seat of my car every time.
I do that every time I go
like
to my car.
I'm
a paranoid person.
If I like, sometimes I'll be like, I will try to like force myself. I'm like, I know I have to look back here, but I know it's dumb. No one's in the back of my car. I know it's dumb. Whatever. I try to like tell myself, okay, I'll just look forward and it'll be out of my mind. The only thing I'm thinking of while I'm driving is there's someone behind me about to strangle me at this point. I wouldn't know because this is the one time I didn't look behind me, and then I look behind me. It's like, it happens every time.
I don't even get in the car. On my way to the driver's seat, I go around the back and I look through each window, open up my car door and sit in. I'm not taking the risk. I'm not getting in that front seat. I'm not letting somebody get to me like that.
I understand the ceiling check. It's not that out there. That's not that crazy.
No, I mean, like, that's far more out there than somebody being in my back seat. But
you're just making sure the room's
I'm a
clear.
generally anxious person, so I'm always like, I just check. I always check.
Way to get into your house somehow and just hang out on the ceiling and see how long it takes for everyone to notice me. That is my
God. If you ever did that, I would, like, can you imagine, like, here's the thing. I've always thought about this. Whenever I do that, whenever I do walk past my car and look in the windows, what the fuck am I gonna do
when it actually
if I
happens?
do look in there and someone's sitting there? What the fuck do I do at that point? Do I just I just think about it, like, I think I just like pull out my phone, I back away, I'm like 911, what's up, bitches? Like, I can't.
Maybe try to play it off as it wasn't your car, and like that. I think that's probably the best thing. Now that I'm thinking of it, is if you see someone, they don't know that that's your car. They don't know whose car this is, you know, unless they watched you get out. That's the only thing. I don't know, but it'd probably be best just to play it off as like, that's not my car. I'm getting on my phone. I am now calling the police. Hey, there's someone in the back of my car, and I am in this parking lot. I'm going to sit in this building until you tell me to come outside. Like,
I am frightened. Please help.
Yeah.
Do one good thing for me, please.
It's true. I've never, that's even scarier, thinking about what would happen if the worry were to actually be fulfilled.
Because that's the thing. It's an empty worry right now. Every time I check, I'm like, there's not going to be anyone back here, but just in case. But I've never thought about, if the in case comes true, what the fuck would I do after that? Just be frightened, run away? I don't know.
I feel like as a kid, this movie would have actually given me the power to like fight. I'm not a fighter whatsoever, but this movie, if I was ever in like a fight or flight, I think like, at this era of my life, I would have chosen to fight because of this movie.
You would have
yes, I would have triple backflipped and then punched the dude about 20 feet in the other direction. Is probably what the first thing to come to mind would have been. But yeah, now, like, that's the thing. Now I know I am at the disadvantage. The only way, if it's another guy, kick in the nuts, poke in the eyes. That's my advantage. My advantage, I'm faster. Maybe, and I can kick you in the nuts. I can poke you where it hurts, and maybe blind you, and make you feel nauseous while I run away. That's my strategy, and I don't care if that makes me sound like a pussy or a coward. I'm just 5'6" and 115 pounds right now. That's just not. I don't survive. That's just survival of the fittest. Got to use my brain. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's probably like. That's why I like Spider-Man more and more as he gets younger and younger. Like, the actors have gotten younger and younger, and I actually like that. Because if I saw as a kid Tom Holland's Spider-Man in place of this movie as I was growing up, it would have only made it better. Like, seeing the actor actually be closer to my age, like, making it more realistic, you know, like, more, like, that could be
more
me.
Relatable.
So like that's the thing, is like these movies are made for the kids at the end of the day, and it's not made to be The Godfather. It's not made to be a critical masterpiece. You know, you have the one-off movies where that happens too sometimes, but like these movies are made for kids to inspire, you know, just some good morals and good values in kids. Like that's you know, would make a good dollar while doing it. Is the real reason they're making these movies, but if you want to give the art behind it, it's for the kids. So I don't know. I love seeing Spider-Man getting younger and younger as time goes on. But I don't want to discredit Tobey Maguire's in any way because I felt everything I needed to feel as a kid when watching him. So
for sure. But Mike, are you on board with the performances and characters going to Willem Dafoe and Tobey Maguire there?
Oh yeah, I got to. For performance, definitely giving it to Osborn. I just wanted to. I'm not going to repeat because we've already been over. I just wanted to reference, like, it was giving me like Jekyll and Hyde vibes from the high school book we were forced to read. To pay attention to, and yeah, he just looks like a brilliant scientist. You know, like he just has a nice, clean cut look. Like he's smart, and then he also just has that like raspy voice that goes
demonic.
Perfect. It just goes perfect with the Green Goblin. Like, I don't know.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
We did forget to that might be the line of the movie. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No, I'll stick with I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella. Dude, that was the first
formula.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That is the first line he says.
My favorite shot was almost Green Goblin chasing Spidey through that through the middle of the street at the festival, and it's just his fucking donk right there.
Absolute thickum. Dude is thick. Yes, I didn't notice that until like the screenshots were like posted later on, and then like now every time I watch the movie, it's like, oh my god, like they really just put Green Goblin's ass front and center. Well, I mean left center.
There's also like there's screenshots of like that whole scene is marred with just like funny. Like if you take a freeze frame at the right moment, it looks so funny. Like when Green Goblin like rams Spider-Man into the wall and he's like behind him. If you like freeze frame it right then when they're up against the wall, it looks sexual. It looks like there is something about
pinning him up against the wall.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's at the parade, like right when he's flying in.
Yeah.
I gotta see that now. Is it before? Oh my god!
Like
I love how you see his mouth through the mask. It's so good that they chose to do that. Like, okay. Yep. Okay, I'm right here. Okay, I see. Yeah, up against the window, and the windows break. I see it's coming up. He does some acrobatic jumps on top of the balloons, and then Green Goblin catches him mid-air, and bam! Yeah, he's literally like fully wrapped around him. Spidey's like this on the window, like arms up, like, and he crotches right in Spidey's ass, like straight up. Like, yeah, it is 100%.
Just waiting for him to grab Spidey by the back of the mask and just.
Yeah, it is. If Green Goblin had his way here for a few more seconds, I don't know what would have happened. You don't know.
I shipped them.
Who knows what would have happened if Spidey joined him? You know, I'm a
Spidey Goblin truther.
In a world where Spidey joins the Green Goblin more than allies.
Well, that was what was interesting about the early comic books is like in that very first issue of Spider-Man, he's vilified by J. Jonah Jameson, and the Fantastic Four are like, well, he's just a kid. What happens when he grows up? What does he decide to do with his powers? Like, I just didn't realize that they played so much with the idea of Spider-Man breaking bad. And like, it's never in question for me. I've grown up with Spider-Man all my life. I know Spider-Man's a hero, but like, thinking about being in 1960, whatever the fuck, and reading that and being like, what if Spider-Man is a bad guy? Like, that'd be interesting. Like, the various ways that could have gone. It's cool that they ended up going the way they did.
I don't know. They do show that a whole lot. Like, there are times in the movie where if you have never seen it, like, and you don't know what happens, you're like, okay, this is like actually an ultimatum that isn't just blatantly, obviously I go with the side of the good. It's like, you see where Peter might actually like take him up on his offer, or you might like
falter. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's every aspect. Like, there's nothing in this movie that's super out there for a comic book movie where you're like, oh, this is just ridiculous past the point of like it's taking me out of the movie now. Like this is,
Yeah,
I don't. That's why, like, if I could give the performance, Willem Dafoe still probably beats out Sam Raimi. But man, Sam Raimi just they wrote this very well for a superhero movie.
Yeah, incredibly written by David Koepp and very well directed by Sam Raimi.
David Koepp wrote it. That's right. He just directed it. That's right. So, okay.
Yeah, might we be ready for a potential rating on this bad boy? I'm just looking at David Koepp's filmography here, and the reason that name sounded so familiar is because he wrote Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Which is a very, very good thing to have under your belt.
I see why the love aspects could actually be like written well then. Like I don't know. That's like, cause that's the love story in here, like it's cheesy and like the actual on screen what you're seeing, but what's actually happening over the course of the movie and like the payoffs that you get are actually like written well. Like it's
Crazy
cheesy
good.
in the moment, but they always reel it back in to actually mean something. So I don't, yeah. Well, if we're starting on ratings and it's enjoyment,
it's pretty high up there. It is pretty high up there.
How do I rate that? You know, like, how is it not a 10 for me? Like, is the thing. Like, I have seen this movie, I don't know how many times. It is probably my favorite comic book movie ever to watch.
That would be a 10 out of 10 for you.
There's zero hesitation on my end if it's a 10 out of 10. So that's where I'm at.
Gotcha. What about you, Mike? How you feeling about this movie as far as the enjoyment factor is considered?
Yeah, pretty much on the same level as Joe. I it's hard for me to give something a 10 out of 10 just because I feel like there's always something that could beat it, you know? So, for that reason, I have to go with a 9 out of 10 on this one. I really enjoyed start to finish. I even like something that's really small. I thought even just the opening credits were like actually entertaining. Like usually they're pretty boring, you know, it's just some names, but like they even nailed that. Like it's just a great movie all around.
Oh yeah, definitely the strongest opening credit sequence we've had in the project so far. You know, I think X-Men and Superman are the only ones that really give it a run for its money. But I do think this is definitely the best, and I think they only get better once like they get Alex Ross in here to do the artwork where it depicts the events of the previous movies, and like Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3, it only gets cooler and cooler. But a 9 out of 10 for Michael, that's cool. And as always with our ratings, we let our guests cultivate their own rating alongside ours. And my gut went to a 9.5.
So on par with Superman.
On par with Superman.
Interesting.
And since yours is a 10, I'm more than comfortable splitting it and going 9.75. I think that's only fair.
And I think I would give Spider-Man 1 a 9.75 legitimately. Spider-Man 2 is probably where it gets to that.
Right.
That's where it goes to a 10. I feel like actually Spider-Man 1, like, I don't know. I think like I feel like it does deserve a 10 out of 10 in the sense that like I don't know of another comic book movie in the world, maybe Into the Spider-Verse, maybe Logan, maybe Infinity War. Those would be the only movies that would like stack up to this one, or Spider-Man 2. So like it's either a 9.75 or a 10, and I'm okay with the 9.75.
I'm gonna soil Spider-Man 2 a little bit. I think that movie is very enjoyable, very fun to watch. I think it's vastly overrated.
Okay.
I don't think it's as critically well done. I don't think it's anywhere near as actually good as this movie is. I think it's every bit as enjoyable. I don't think it's anywhere near as good. I think they just do it. What they did well with the romance in this movie, they never do again. The romance falls the fuck apart in the Raimi trilogy. It gets bad.
Very true.
I do.
And I'm excited to talk about it. But I wanted to open up the minds of us going before we go into Spider-Man 2. to be prepared for maybe a
That's
little
true.
bit worse of a movie. You know,
That's true.
just wanted to plant the seeds now so that we could have that discussion later. But all right, so we're coming to a 9.75 enjoyment wise.
I believe so.
All right.
Yes, I am good with that.
I think I'm there as well. Genre-wise, Mike, how you feeling about this one as far as it fulfills that action, adventure, coming of age? I would consider this a coming of age movie for sure.
Yeah, I put it because I saw when I was going back through the sheets of like, obviously these are all superhero movies, so now we have to break it down in subcategories. So I was like, kind of where I was getting. I was like, okay, so we have a superhero, high school, they dealing with all of their like high school problems as everyone does. So I get like a 9.25 out of 10. I thought they did pretty well with showing just like, oh, these two best friends, are in the same girl, and that shit happens all the time, and
100%.
A lot of different scenarios play out from that, and that just happened to be one of them, which I feel like has probably happened in our high school, probably multiple times. So and for that reason, 9.25 out of 10. I think they did pretty well with the superhero, and then also portraying the dramatic sides that you get from high school.
Gotcha. So that was a 9.5?
9.25.
9.25. Gotcha. All righty. That's a good rating. And I'm not far from that. In fact, I might be a little kinder to it. I just might, because as far as knowing what the movie was, I think they made exactly the movie they intended to make. And I think the action is amongst the best we've seen in a superhero movie so far. That sequence where he is setting up the camera so he can take the photos to give to the bugle, and he takes down those guys in the street, like does the whole like acrobatic Spidey action and stuff. That's pretty awesome. I think the coming of age aspects of this movie are done incredibly well. I think this might be on that tier with Superman and Batman Mask of the Phantasm at a straight up 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Before this, you had Blade and Howard the Duck and the X-Men to say what the MCU had to stand for. This is the movie where people are like, okay, I know that these last movies have been whatever, but this one you have to see. Like, this is the one that put Marvel on the map big time. Like, this is the first, like, it's Spider-Man, and they did it right. Like, thank God they did it right the first time. They knew exactly what they were doing coming in, and as a kid's movie, this spoke exactly the way it was supposed to speak to me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It still speaks to me now.
Even so.
So I mean, yeah, I'm comfortable giving it a 10 in the genre. If we gave Superman and Batman Mask of Phantasm, it's every bit as much.
It fulfills everything you want out of a superhero movie, I think, to a perfect level. And like, as far as like I said, that third act, it's definitely the best we've had so far, and that's usually when a superhero movie falls apart. Mm-hmm. And they managed to make it more personal than it's ever been as far as our journey is concerned through our comic book films so far. That shit was personal. It wasn't like, oh, this is world threatening, I've just got to save the world. Green Goblin was like, I'm trying to murder the woman you love.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
go after Aunt May first, and then now that I know
the yellow eyes.
Yeah, now that I know another
yellow eyes.
God damn, he's cold. Like,
and I'd never realized how good that shot was of Green Goblin, like floating into Aunt May's room, where he is like silhouetted in black, and then all you see are his yellow eyes. Like, that was a good looking shot. That was some fire shit. But yeah, genre, I'm right there. I think I'm there with the 10 out of 10. Mike, are you comfortable giving an adaptation rating, or would you rather leave that to us?
I mean, I can give my 2 cents. Well, for record, like I said before, big picture guy. So just going off of pictures, from all the different comic books, and then tying it back to the movie, referencing the movie, I gave it a 9.5. I think I saw a lot of ties that. Given I'm not a big comic guy, and I don't, I look at the ones that we watch, obviously, so I can have the reference. I don't know as much as you guys do, But just from my little knowledge, my little brain, I thought they did pretty damn well. So I gave it 9.5 out of 10.
Fuck yeah. And you're not far off. I would again elevate on it though. I think this does exactly what Spider-Man is supposed to be. I think they, as far as the comics that came before it, there are very few movies that I think have accomplished what this did as far as honoring the image of what the character was before it.
Is it to the level of Superman? Is it perfect? Yeah.
Yeah. It maintains the spirit of the character. It actually adapts events that happened in the comics, which is something Superman 78 didn't necessarily do.
That's true. Like, I mean, there were things that were just...
Well, comics, at that point, I wasn't doing the less than legal way to acquire comics that aren't available on the internet.
True. But I mean, I guess if we gave Superman a 10,
this has to be a 10.
This is a 10. Yeah, I don't know. Everything was just like, even Peter Parker, even down, like, not just Spider-Man, like even just the Peter Parker side of the character. Aunt-May, like everything, Aunt-May, like everything was just, as I was reading the comics, I was seeing all the inspiration out of the movie. Like, I'm like, oh my God, they were just so faithful. Like, I have no part of me is like, oh wow, this part they really like messed up. Like, they just didn't handle this character well, or like they just took this the wrong way. Like, I don't feel like there's nothing of that. So, I feel like 10's the only fair thing to give it.
I dig it. And that brings us to the critical rating, which is probably the only spot where it falls a little bit, not far, but a little bit for me anyway. Mike, how are you feeling about it?
So going off of your guys' scale of like 1 through 10, obviously, I think it's in the higher numbers, and then we break it down. It was like 7 was like a really like good movie, 8's a great movie, 9 is like S tier. Like, can't really get much better. I gave mine, like, I think it fits in with the 8.4. I think it's a really great movie. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. Like, a lot of movies, like, I feel like have downplay, like downtime, where it's like, oh, it doesn't really get, like, it's not really interesting. It's just filler stuff. Like, I feel like I was very engaged. I thought casting very well. Harry being one of the Franco brothers, very attractive man, love that. Mary Jane being very beautiful, very hot, first heartthrob. And then honestly, I'm a big fan of Tobey Maguire. I think I might be a little biased because he was my first Superman. But I love Tobey Maguire. I think he did a great job with what he was given. With all that casting, the action, dialogue, just everything, I think overall, pretty great movie, honestly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was right there where you gave it an 8.4. I was giving it an 8.5.
Just a little bit above Superman, but not quite. That's exactly where I was. I couldn't really put it critically on the same level of Mask of Phantasm. Like, that's an 8.75. But it's like, it's damn close. Like, it's closer to Mask of Phantasm than I think to Superman. I think this did a little better than Superman did, and Superman was good. But so yeah, I think 8.5 is perfect there.
All right, and that rounds our rating of it to a 96, and it rounds Michael's rating of it to a 90. So we're a little kinder than our guest this week, which doesn't happen a lot. It happened for the second time today. The last time was with our boy Robert Trott over at Colin Brand versus the MCU, where he gave X-Men a little bit worse a rating than we did. Not by much, but just by a little bit.
The new King, Spider-Man.
It actually...
Mask of Phantasm is a 9.44, right?
Yeah, it actually ties what we have set for Superman.
Wait, do I just have that wrong in this? I have Superman at a 9. Did we adjust? Or did I just have that wrong?
I don't know.
Superman at a 9.38 for some reason. Average. But yeah, 9.5.
Did we adjust after the X-Men episode when we were like...
I don't think so. I think we kept it the same. I think I just probably copied it wrong into here. So 9. Okay. Yeah, and this was so 956 and 956. I actually kind of like that they tie.
Yeah, it ties
That feels
Superman
better.
exactly to the decimal, which is kind of
That feels
crazy.
better. Yeah. I like that. Okay.
As the
But a
new
little bit better
kings.
than Mask of Phantasm. Okay, yeah. That's
Well, I talk about one more thing before we wrap all this up. I want to talk about the last scene of the movie where
Yeah.
MJ walks up to Peter and basically just confesses, like, "Hey, I didn't really know this, but I kind of felt it." And like along the whole process of the movie, like I found out that you're the guy that I need. You've always been there. Like, we may not have been very close. I didn't see it, but now that I got all the distractions out of the way, got Flash and Harry and all that. I mean, all that. And then Peter's just like, yeah, I can only just be your friend. And I was like, do you think like he just like is trying to protect her and keep her away from what is to come in the future? Like, I don't know. If I'm thinking,
for sure. I think what happened with the Green Goblin, with him taking MJ and threatening her life because he knew Spider-Man cared about her, he was like, I can't put her in that position again. You know, like I simply can't put her in a spot where I can compromise her. I do, however, think it's dumb as hell of him to do that anyway. Doesn't matter if you are literally boyfriend and girlfriend. Your supervillains will figure out that you're in love with this woman.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well go ahead and be as happy as you possibly can.
Want to know a different thought process to take this on is she figured out in that moment that Toby or that he is Spider-Man. She knows at that moment. Like, so think about it. Like because everything's been leading her that way. You know, he's been trying to, and then he literally calls her MJ and then Mary Jane. And the only she's hearing the voice and then picturing in his head Toby, you know, or Peter. And it could be her way of trying to be like, I know who you are, and I don't want to say it either, but I'm okay with it. You know, they both haven't gotten there, I feel.
Gotcha.
Is maybe what they were trying to go for, and then in the second one, it's like the actual figuring out, and then the actual aftermath of like being okay with it and coming to terms with what this means. Like, I feel like maybe that's with what they were trying to do, but like, man, it's not like the ending of La La. Like, I don't know, I come away like more like, man, like this one, like it doesn't make sense really. You know, it's like it makes sense for the hero trope, whatever, but like for the
villains you weren't boyfriend and girlfriend with MJ just now.
Nope.
When Green Goblin did that.
Nope. And the only reason that
just stop.
The only reason that freaking Green Goblin knew is because Harry's just freaking out of nowhere snitch, you know, just out of the blue drop that detail. Like, it's not like that Green Goblin figured that out on his own. He only figured out that it was Peter because of Thanksgiving dinner and all of the blood ordeal and all of that, you know. So like, yeah. So I don't know. It was an interesting way to end it, but I don't know. I can't let that just deflate the movie though, because it's literally like the last minute, the last.
Yeah, and that's not even. It's not even critically. That's not like it's like making the movie worse. I think it just strengthens the principles of Spider-Man. It's just kind of like there's a flaw in the logic, I think, is all. But
dude was crying in first grade over a play. Like, that's like
you were simping for all your life.
You know the feelings are strong with this one. I don't know. Like, me personally, at least take her out on a date and then say like, hey, probably should keep this down low just so you know you live. But like, you got your chance. You got to get the ball in the net at least one time, you know? So that's why I want to talk about that one.
He already came once. My headcanon. They had that experience.
They both came.
Yep.
But with that, we round it out to a 96. Mike here rounds it out to a 90%. It's a damn good film. And that concludes Spider-Man 1, starring Tobey Maguire. With that, if you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content, including all sorts of comic book pull lists, book reviews, movie reviews. If we're covering a comic book movie that's coming out now, it's going to be on Patreon. It won't be until it comes up in this project naturally, chronologically, that we will cover it on the main show. If you want any new coverage of comic book movies or shows, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod. Head to Twitter, follow at PennyBloomPod, follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. I was Colton Robertson, and I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. And thank you so much for joining us once again for the second time, and certainly not the last, Michael Muehlberger. Thank you.
Of course. Had a great time again with you boys. And yeah, hope, like you said, it won't be the last.
Certainly will not. I hope to have you back for Spider-Man 2 here in the coming weeks. I'm not sure how far off that is.
Only 3 movies in between: Daredevil,
okay,
X2, and Hulk, and then it's
we'll
Spider-Man
link up
2.
in about a month. That'll be the plan, and we'll hop back on and we'll talk Spider-Man 2, and I'll be sure to have the comics ready far further in advance next time. And with that, we shall conclude. Remember, peace, love, and bloom. And with great power comes great responsibility.